But the big meeting that is worth remembering is, so we liked the idea. And I told Bill, I said, I would be happy to be the leader of this effort with you. I'll find the time and, I'll, if you please, carry the ball, but we have to do it together. So then the question became, okay, we have this great idea, and we have all these studies, and we'd put together a plan, and now it was time to test the plan and see how much realism there was. Between Bill and myself and our different sets of experiences, we talked about the fact of, let's get the most important people to make a decision that we can in one room at one point in time. And so we called a meeting, and the criteria for the meeting was only, if you please, CEOs, particularly from the not-for-profit sector, will promise them the meeting will last no more than 1 hour, and we will tell them nobody can come in their place. And to a great extent, in some cases, between my connections and Bill's connections, and Bill's were more important in some cases, we decided, well, let's call these people and we'll set up this meeting and we'll get everybody there. And I believe we actually got everybody there. Now, this is a little bit accepted in St. Louis now in 2016. But in those days, the big guys, the big players, particularly from the not-for-profit sector, not only did they not meet with each other very often, they really didn't do much with each other. There was almost competitiveness between a lot of these people. The most powerful thing we did was to get these people in one room at the same time, talking to each other and listening to each other. It may sound logical that, well, you get St. Louis University to sit down with Washington University. It was rarely done. And there was a lot of competitiveness. And in that particular forum, to get Mark Wrighton to sit at the same table as Father Biondi, as Peter Raven, as Steve Lipstein, and with Blanche Stillhill, that was almost unheard of. So this was like, from my standpoint, this was like the first bridge that was built in St. Louis to really get some of these leaders to talk and listen to each other on a joint project.
And when was that?
Oh, I'd have to look it up.
2003-ish, 2-ish.
2-ish.
We can look it up. I just want to get. So what happened?
Well, Bill and I had a strategy, which was to explain the project, for Bill to endorse it as as the visionary that he is, to indicate that I was willing to work on this, to put this plan together for up to 6 months, just to do it. But we needed some seed money to pay office expenses and hire a few more consultants and that kind of thing. As I remember right, Bill and I had a goal in mind of raising $125,000. So as our meeting was starting to end, if you please, somebody said, well, what can we do next? And we said, well, we need to raise some seed money. And I actually forget who went first and what, but after we passed the hat at this one meeting, we had raised $175,000. I'm not sure we ever admitted to anybody that we raised $50,000 more than we had hoped to, but we raised $175,000. So we then spent another, if you please, 6 months, etc., putting together a plan involving the real estate people, involving programmatic people, dealing with some of the politics, etc. And then we had a plan that made some sense to Bill and myself. And it was time to, get real commitments for real money. And that's when the institution stepped forward, and we got going. while we initially started with $29 million from these founding institutions, we asked these institutions to make an investment in Cortex. The one thing that we were shrewd about was understanding that we weren't going to ask for philanthropy. This was not another contribution. We were asking for people to make an investment. And we told them at the time, make an investment. We will work as hard as we can that 20 years from now, you'll get your money back plus interest. That was the deal with the original investors.
I'm sorry, corporate investors or nonprofit investors?
Nonprofit, the four funding partners.
Gotcha.
We then went out and raised about $5 or $6 million in the corporate community, asking people for donations. We said we have $29 million from these institutions, and we want some donations from the corporate community. And I would say, realistically, Bill spearheaded that, although I helped him. But those are really his connections, people that, if you please, couldn't turn Bill down. And then we started applying for various kinds of public monies. First big piece we got was a economic development grant for $3 million to actually build what's called the Cortex 1 building where we're sitting today. And then it seemed to work. We put together a really good team of people, many of which you've met or will meet. But our goal was to find people who we could generate a passionate interest in the project as something good for St. Louis, and who are willing to work on it as a passion and as a commitment to the city, as opposed to as a way to make money.